Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance. Today is my interview with Faye Viviana. This is part 2. Enjoy. So I saw that you did the film Consent, and that's
Mm.
something you directed. I couldn't find the film, but I was like, that looks like an interesting thing. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's I don't think it's posted anywhere. It's I didn't write that one. That was
Yeah,
written.
no, you didn't.
Yeah,
But you
that was written.
directed it.
I just directed that. But that's basically it puts a twist on it. We didn't really push it into festivals and stuff because the twist that we put on it right around the time of like Me Too was not really the right twist. So basically in the film, it's this couple like kind of like about to hook up, and he's a very wealthy like uh like entrepreneur, like person with a lot of assets. And so he asks for her to like sign a consent thing before they sleep together. And then once they've done it and he's asleep, she actually goes and she like deletes the form she signed because it's like she might choose to use it against him. So I liked the story, but given the climate and the type of conversations that were being had, we were like, this actually might not be the right message for right now. So we really didn't push that film very far, but it was fun. I got to work with a great DP. His name is Will Carnahan. And so we got to design a lot of like the lighting. I was happy with how the lighting, like his was all very like orange and warm, and hers was very blue and cold. And just getting to kind of like play with that is a treat with a DP who's willing to kind of dive in there and do something a little bit artsy with you. So it's not just naturalistic. So yeah, it was a fun one.
I also saw To Be Mellow. I couldn't find you though. I wasn't sure where you were in that.
To Be Mellow, I'm a photo in a frame.
Your photo in a frame. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That was like
I think I know where you are.
A friend was like, "Hey, we need a picture of a wife for this thing. We'll give you a name. Can you just send us a headshot?" And I was like, "Okay."
Because I'm like going through it. I'm like, where is she? Where is she?
Yeah. No, I'm somewhere in the environment. Yeah. Not in that one.
So which do you prefer? Do you prefer acting or directing?
They're very different. I really love acting. I think I love performing. So I think acting, and most of what I do is so that I get to act more. So I think I would say acting is my favorite. But directing is also cool because, especially when you're working with really talented people, you can really like get things to be the way you want them, which sometimes as an actor you don't get. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the director says you have to do this and you might not agree, and yet that's your job, and so you have to do that.
Yeah.
When you're directing, it's like you get to say how you want it to be, and you get to have it done that way. And so that's kind of nice. Like you can really design the story the way you want it to be told. And when you're working with very, talented people who can really do what you ask for, it's very satisfying to like see it done the way you want.
Because I saw you guys just did David Auburn's The Lost Lake. How was that?
It was wonderful. Lisa Gay and Craig are super talented. And I mean, it was a kind of wild story. I was not planning on directing that show. Again, this is sort of what I mean about like directing can just happen. We were trying to do Top Dog Underdog as our opening show for the season, and we couldn't get the rights because they decided to reopen it on Broadway. And so they were like, just kidding, you can't have the rights. So we were like, oh crap, okay. And that had a different director attached and different cast and all this stuff. And then we were like scrambling to find what piece we'd put up. And for some reason, we just kept getting no's, like the rights. We just couldn't get the rights stuff we were asking about. And then I had read Lost Lake pre-pandemic, and I had pitched it to a director, and he said, I don't know. I don't think it's flashy enough because it's very like slice of life. And I really thought it was like a lovely story. And I was like, oh, I can't believe that he didn't go for it, whatever. So I had it sort of like in my back pocket. And so I thought one day it It was getting to be like, if we didn't find a show by like tomorrow, we'd have to delay opening the season. Like we were running out of time.
Yeah.
So without really talking to anybody, I just applied for the rights at like midnight. And I was like, I'm just going to see if they're available. And they were like, yep, like immediately, yep, they're available. You can have them. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, hey, Lisa Gay, Craig, any chance you're like free today to do like a quick little read of something? Called Alan. I was like, hey, I kind of want to do this show for like, just can you come to this table read? I think it's great. And so they did. They showed up like, I think Craig had just gotten off a plane even. Showed up at like 7 p.m. We just sat in a conference room, read this play. And Alan was like, well, that's great, but like, I don't have time. He has like 3 kids and runs a school and, you know, all this stuff. He's like, I don't have time to direct a show right now. And I was like, I guess I could. And he went, oh, you want to do this? And I was like, sure. And I was like, hey guys, can you start rehearsals like tomorrow? And they're like, are we cast? Like, we thought we were just doing like a reading for you. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I actually already have the rights. So, you know, if you're down, like, let's, so we literally started rehearsing the next day and opened 4 weeks later. So it was like this super fast turnaround. Nobody had worked with that material before. It was totally brand new. And we just like I think they got 1 day off in the entire 30 days. It was like grueling, but they were such good sports about it. And and they did such good work. It was, I mean, it was a fantastic little show. So it was really fun. I loved that process. And because it's just the 2 of them, the entire piece, I really got to kind of dive in and just like work with the actors pretty much the entire process. And that part's really fun. Because like I said, getting to work with people that good means that you get to like really do it the way you want to do it. And it was great.
I liked what you said. You said this in your interview. You like to work scene by scene. You don't like to just go right straight to the run through. So you really embrace the rehearsal process.
Oh yeah. And early in the rehearsal process, I go like page by page. And I will like stop and be like, I think this line means this. Can we try it that way? Like I really like break it down. Because I feel like it's so much more freeing as an actor, right? Yeah. If you know why you're saying everything, like all of that script analysis is done. Then it's like getting off book, making sure that like, the logic is tracking between emotional beats and like, but if you haven't really like gotten in the nitty gritty, you're not as free actually. Like you think you're more free, but you're actually not because you're still figuring it out all the time. And that like stops the flow of what you're doing. So I really like to like, before we get up on our feet, before we start memorizing, just go through and just really break it down. We'd have like 2-hour rehearsals where we'd only do one scene and just like break down the beats and what do these lines mean, and you know, really like get in there. And then once you start running the full scene, it's like everybody kind of knows. And then it's about just tweaking, like, oh, I think let's try a little bit more energy towards that there so that this emotion is bigger. And then, you know, but it's a little bit more easy to play because it's all clear, everybody's on the same page. It's not just this like, because I think the danger is that it's fun to explore, but you can get stuck exploring and like never nail it down. And I think that is a trap. You know, you don't want to get stuck.
You gotta find we're gonna explore it this time, and then you know, here we are. Now we're kind of setting it here. I liked hearing that you like to have sometimes an actor like read the script to you so that you're listening to it, almost like an audiobook. You like to have
I think that it's important with plays because like I read tons of plays, obviously with Crimson Square. I'm constantly trying to find material and stuff. And sometimes you'll read a play and you'll be like, oh, this is really interesting. Like I think I like this piece. But then sometimes you put it into a reading and you hear it and you'll realize like, oh, that scene actually wasn't as exciting as I thought it was, or it didn't land the way, it didn't have the impact I thought it would. And then you have to decide like, is that because, you know, they're just reading and the like acting isn't really there? Or is it because the script actually doesn't support it? And so hearing it, it's much easier to like make those decisions when you've heard it versus just reading.
Will you go and write it too? Do you ever find rewriting the script or like, you know?
I try not to when it's something that's already published and, you know, I feel like at that point you have to respect the author's work.
No,
And
oh, no, I don't mean like changing anything. I mean just like, I don't know, writing it out as like you're copying it or whatever, you're rewriting it. Like,
oh,
would you
you
get
know, I did
something
that
from
a
that?
lot when I was younger, especially for like memorization. I used to like write out scenes,
Yeah,
but now I don't so much. I really try to sort of like read it or hear it,
yeah,
because I feel like if I can't, that's enough information. I don't need to spend more time trying to, if
yeah,
that makes sense. Then it's like I just,
yeah,
especially if it's from the producing side, I'm like, if I don't get it between reading it and hearing it, then it's probably just not there. I can move on to
yeah.
something else. If I'm
Good.
acting in it and I don't get something, I might write it down to see if I can find another way. I can hear it another way. Um, but that's, or, you know, that's really if you just don't have anyone you can ask. Like,
Interesting.
what did you mean with this line? What was this
Yeah,
for? You know?
interesting. So who are your inspirations in theater and film? I'm just curious.
Oh man. As far as like the overall career trajectory, I would love to be like the female version of like Ben Stiller,
Ah,
because I
okay.
think his dramatic work is awesome. I think his
Yeah, it
comedy is
is.
awesome. I think he, you know, he directs, he writes, he produces,
The
he
Cable
acts,
Guy. You
you know, he
directed
does
that.
everything and it's so good. All of it is good. The quality is so high. I also like that he has like a pretty stable family life. You know, he's married for
Yeah,
17
it does.
years. Even after his divorce, like they're still dating, like his wife. Um,
Yeah.
like they're dating each other. Like it's very like wholesome seeming. I don't know
Yeah.
them obviously, but
Yeah.
I like that it seems like stable and wholesome, and it's not like full of crazy drugs and
Yeah.
you know all this crazy stuff you hear in Hollywood all the time.
Yeah.
It's I feel like he just,
Kanye West and, Kim
yeah,
Kardashian.
it's not a reality show. It's just like a guy doing good projects all the time, and I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
So he's definitely an
exactly.
inspiration.
Cool.
I mean, any great actor. Right now, I'm really fascinated by Haley Bennett.
She was
Her
in
work is so good.
Swallow. Was
Yes,
that I saw that
yes.
film. Yeah, she was really good in that.
She
That was
is
such a
good at everything she does. And there's
yeah,
something so interesting to me about her work. It really draws you in.
yeah.
Um, I'm always like trying to see her next thing. She's just great. I mean, there's so many talented people, so it's hard to be like just these people. Like, I feel like
Yeah, no,
anything I
no, no.
watch, you know, I'm like, oh, that was great, or oh, I don't know if I
No, I
like
know. I'm
that.
putting you on the spot here, and like you'll leave and you'll be like, oh wait, I should have said that one. It's like, yeah.
But
So yeah.
yeah, I feel like recently that's an actor that I've been like, what is it?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that she's doing? 'Cause it's so good. Um,
Well, just watch because you've seen Swallow. I mean, just watch her in there. I mean, like you just it's not a lot going on, but there's a lot going on.
there's a lot going on. Yeah,
There's
that's what I mean. It's like so
yeah.
simple
I
and
mean, it's
contained, and
such an
yet like
interesting
really rich. Yeah.
I remember watching it. And then like as the movie goes, we finally see her like kind of this vicious side to her when she,
Yeah,
confronts her
like the
father there.
unraveling of this woman. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
she's just really really interesting, a really interesting actor.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like I
No, I
kind of
like
just
her.
go through trends where I'm like, oh, this person right now is really interesting to me. You know, like I kind of do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's cool. Cool. What would you like to do that you haven't done yet? I mean, I know that's like a stock question, but
no, I mean, I'm hoping to direct my first feature film
oh wow.
soon. Um, and also I'd like to be on for acting, I'd like to be on a series or have a character arc that's a little longer, so I get to like live with the character a little
Yeah.
longer, because that's the one thing that's always a little sad about booking TV and film is like you get to be that person for like 2 or 3 days, maybe a week,
Yeah.
um and then it's over and that's it.
What shows are you watching? Like what shows like do you gravitate toward? I'm
You
curious.
know, it's funny because sometimes when I'm really busy, I won't start a really good show because I don't have time to
Yeah.
like give it the proper attention. So, I mean, I was watching the morning show.
Mm.
Um, Apple's doing some really interesting TV right now. Severance,
Yeah,
Schmigadoon.
I still haven't seen Severance. I need to like see that's what I mean. There's so much stuff
There's so
out
much.
there.
Um, Peaky Blinders is always, I mean,
Yeah.
work on that show is just fantastic, and the cinematography is so good.
Yeah.
I think of what recently I was like, yes.
Did
I
you
mean,
watch Game of
sometimes I watch like
Thrones?
easy to turn off shows because I'm like, I don't, like I said, I don't want to invest. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be up until 4 a.m. because I'm so invested. So
That's what happened to me with Andor. I just started. I'm gonna watch one episode. I was like, wait a minute, this is actually really good cinematography. This doesn't feel like Star Wars. This feels different. And I'm just like, I like binge watched all 8 episodes like in just like 2
yeah,
days.
yeah. So sometimes if I'm like, I don't have time for that right now, I like won't start it
Yeah,
because I
same
don't
here.
want to. Yeah. So
Like the White Lotus is the thing that like everybody's talking about now, and it's like I gotta sit and watch it, but I'm like, okay, I gotta watch now 2 seasons, and I'm like, I don't have the time right now to
yeah.
sit there because I know
Oh,
once I
Ted
get hooked,
Lasso
I'll
is
be like,
another one. Ted Lasso is really good.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, with yeah, with what's his, I forget his name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that one I was able to like justify starting because the episodes are like 20 some minutes. They're
yeah,
not an hour. But
yeah.
yeah,
No, it's
that's my biggest challenge. I actually wish I had more time to watch stuff, period.
yeah,
Movies, film, all TV, all of
yeah.
it.
No, it's hard.
But that's, yeah, it's tough.
It's
Trying
hard.
to make movies and TV is constantly taking up all my time. So I don't really get to
Yeah,
watch as much as I want.
yeah. So do you have a beginning of the day routine?
I actually start most of my mornings doing physical therapy for my back with a clinic in London over Skype. So most mornings from 7:30 to 9, I'm doing physical therapy. And that's kind of my little routine. If I'm really gung ho about getting in shape, I'll wake up and do a yoga class at like 5 in the morning before my physical therapy. But I often stay up late working. And so sometimes I just can't go because I'm like, otherwise I'll only sleep like 2 hours. Nothing
Yeah,
will function after that.
exactly.
But that's generally my morning routine. And then I drink like a pot of coffee. I'm
Oh
mostly
wow.
sleep deprived most days. So
Yeah.
I usually drink like 5 cups of coffee, a lot of
See,
coffee.
I can't even one cup of coffee. I'm very sensitive to caffeine, so like I'll just like feel it like it's just one cup. So I have to drink like decaf because I like the taste of coffee, but
Mhm.
it's like, but I see why you're doing it. Yeah, I don't know. Is that just something hard for us artists to just shut down at night?
I don't know. I usually get really, really sleepy at like 6 p.m. And
Really?
sometimes if I have a lot of work to do, I'll actually just sleep from like 6 to 8 and then wake back up and then work until like 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's smart.
I mean, like I had a writing deadline the other day that
Oh yeah.
I was just struggling to get through it because I had so many other things going on. And writing really takes like, you have to like sit down and like focus, you know, it's
Yeah, yeah.
really
You have
hard.
to have a lot of time to like. There's
Ideally,
got to be, yeah. There's got to be like where like the first hour you might not do anything, but you're just like sitting there. You got to like get everything out of, just be like, okay, this is all I'm doing
yeah.
now.
And so I was actually just sleeping in shifts. So I would like, I did it for like 3 days to get this deadline done. So I would sleep from like 4 to 5:30 in the morning and then work
Yeah.
until like
Yeah.
10. And then I would sleep from like 10 to 11:30 and then work until 4. And then
Yeah.
sleep from like 4 to 5:30 and then work until 2. And then, like I was just like, I
Yeah.
don't think it's good for you. That's what I was
Oh, is
doing.
that good for you? But when you got the deadline, you gotta
Sometimes
do
you
what you
gotta do
gotta
whatever,
do.
yeah, whatever it takes to get it done. Um, yeah. So sometimes I do crazy things like that. But generally, an ideal day, I wake up, I go to yoga, I go to PT, I take a little power nap after PT, and then I sort of like start my office
Yeah.
day after that.
Yeah. Do you have a nighttime routine? I mean, we kind of talked about, but it's like,
I usually try to watch something for half an hour while I eat dinner. Um, Although oftentimes that means it's not going to be a really good show. It'll just be an okay show.
yeah,
And then, I mean, I like to read. It depends on how late I'm working. If I'm actually done working at like a decent hour, I might watch a movie or read a book, do
yeah,
something kind of like fun. But that's not happened that much recently. I'm like, I eat. That's like my nighttime routine is like, oh, I finally get to eat dinner. It's like midnight.
Yeah,
I'm just
there you
like,
go.
oh, I
Yeah.
should eat dinner now. Also not great for you, but if that's what happens, that's what happens.
Do you meditate?
No, I tried TM for a while, like
Mm,
transcendental, whatever.
yeah.
It's okay. Um, I do like to write my to-do list for the next day at night. That
Okay.
is something I guess I kind of do. Especially when I'm really, really busy, I will sleep much better if I've sort of like brain dumped all the things I need to do tomorrow
Put
before
it
I
all
try to go to
down
bed.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that is something I do. Yeah.
Okay. What are you reading right now?
Tell everybody to read it. I actually just finished it. I'm gonna start. Got it. Clara and the Sun.
Clara and the Sun.
I'm
Okay.
gonna start this one. One of my friends was like, "Oh my god, it's so good." The book I keep telling everybody to read. It was a Tim Ferriss recommendation. I can't exactly describe
The
what type of
4-hour work week.
no. That's the author. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Tim
no, the
Ferriss.
book is called This is How We lose the time war. This is how
Oh.
you lose the time war, we lose the time war, something like that.
So he wrote a new book. Okay,
Well,
interesting.
he didn't write it. He just recommended it. He was like, "This is an amazing book. You should read it." It was on
Yeah.
one of his like Twitter or something, and
Ah,
it is an amazing book. I have read it twice now, and I tell everybody they should read it. It's like, I don't know what genre you can say it is. It's sort of sci-fi, sort of romance, sort of poetry, sort of action.
yeah.
It's very hard to describe, but it's very good.
I mean, that's the problem I think all of us are living in, is like, how do we not let time rule everything, whereas we're controlling time?
Mhm.
Now we're getting into metaphysical stuff, but it's yeah, that's a difficult thing, because I mean, if you would say the one constant other than money in this country, and I think the whole world, is probably time. It's
Yeah.
currency. I don't think anyone really talks about is how important time really is.
Well,
It's
and how
just,
little you have of it, really.
yeah,
Like, I don't know if you've seen that graph of like, the amount of days you have left with like your loved ones after the age of 30. It's like 80 days with your parents or something. I mean, it's like wild if you look
it's
at how little
terrifying.
time you actually have. Yeah, you're just like, whoa, I got to be more intentional about this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's so precious. Yeah, time is really important.
It's also very hard to just like kind of get sucked into doing the work and not stopping, and being like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to unwind now at some point. I mean, that's why I make myself meditate for an hour and 10 minutes. And it's just like, it's like sometimes I don't want to do it, but it's just like, I have to, create that focus and be like, where do I want to go? Where is
Yeah.
this? How do I, what are you listening to right now?
Honestly, I love this. It's all like for work. Uh, this guy on YouTube, I think he goes by Mind Amend, but he makes these like study beats that
Oh,
like
yeah,
help you
yeah.
focus, and they work really well with me. So I
Yeah.
listen to a lot of that when I need to get like a lot done. If I need to get like energized in the morning, I'll listen to just like pop, or I guess it's called
Yeah.
noir pop. It's a little bit darker. And then I love like classic rock. So like AC/DC and
Yeah.
things like that. So like
Cool.
I'll listen to like
Cool.
Aerosmith or
Yeah.
like, just Spotify playlists of like that
Yeah.
time. But it's tricky because being a dancer, if I'm listening to really, I also like love classical music. But if I'm listening to something that's very danceable, I won't get anything done because I will just be dancing in my head. So I actually can't listen to really good music when I drive either, because I become a very dangerous driver because I'm like not like good music makes me want, like makes me see movement, basically. Like I can't
Yeah.
not like dance in my head. And so it's kind of, I don't really get to listen to music for fun because of that.
Wow, that's interesting. That that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Wow. One thing I like to do is I put on brown noise. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Brown
Oh,
noise
I've
is a
seen that. Does that help?
yeah. It does for me. I will put it on and like I won't hear anything else, down
Mm,
there. So it's like everything will kind of keep me, I don't like hearing anything like in the walls or anything like that. So it's like if
right.
I put that on, it's like I can't hear anything. It's like there's a frequency there where it just puts you in and you can't hear anything. Because I used to like listen to like rain sounds and I was like, okay, I'm still hearing other people. And then I found brown noise and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then there's pink noise, which is for sleep.
Yeah, I've
So
heard there's all these different colors. I always just thought there was like
yeah,
white noise, but apparently
I same here. I did too. It's
there's
like,
a whole spectrum of color noises. Yeah.
yeah. What are you watching now? I know we kind of already talked about that.
Well, I've been actually watching, it's not on the air anymore. And I'm watching Elementary, that Lucy Liu show
Yeah.
of where she's like Watson in Sherlock Holmes. I'm I'm kind of trying to watch more network procedurals just from a writing standpoint,
Mm,
because it's so formulaic and it's so specific.
yeah. Like
And I don't
ER.
feel like I'm super confident in that. So I am trying to watch a little bit more of those types of shows, to kind of
Yeah.
learn that.
Do you watch ER?
I've not watched ER. Do you recommend ER?
I would, well, I remember doing an acting class and they gave us the script to ER, and ER is written by the pilot was written by this was originally going to be a film by the person who did Jurassic Park. Yeah, I think Michael
Oh, okay.
Crichton. I think Michael Crichton did it. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
got like it just has this
Michael Crichton's one of my
different
favorite writers,
feel.
so I would
Yeah,
probably really like it. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's got this
Cool.
like different feel to it. And it's like, okay, I see why this show like just really jumped off the page.
Hmm.
Because it's just like the characters are very defined. There's a lot going on. It feels like a movie, and it's an interesting script. I would recommend that. I've never watched Grey's Anatomy, but I just remember reading the ER script, and I was like, this is
Yeah. Okay,
fantastic.
cool. I'll check it out.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was
Thank you so much
wonderful.
for having me. This is a lovely conversation.
This was great. How can people reach you?
Probably Instagram is the best way. I go under FYVIVI. Um, that's going to be the most up to date thing. I've been kind of bad about my social media presence. So,
Well, if
that
you're
would
going to
be
bed,
where
if
I
you're
end up
eating
posting.
at midnight, I can understand that.
Right.
I think we can all
Like one
understand
more
that.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be the easiest way. I don't always check my like the messages from non followers or whatever, like there's like the other
Yeah,
inboxes.
yeah.
Sometimes I
It
don't
goes
get to
into
it.
like these three categories. There's like the one, the general, and then there's like the one, and you're just
So
like,
like other people that you're like, what?
it's like,
So
hey,
I don't check
sell
that
this
that often, but
necklace.
yes,
Jones. And you're
yes.
like, okay, and then I'm gonna pay you for the necklace to get what?
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. It was really nice to meet you.
It was very nice meeting you.
All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day, and
Yeah,
hopefully I'll be able to keep in touch with you also.
absolutely. Okay, that does it for this interview with Faye Viviana. I want to thank her for being on the show. As always, you can find me at Justin Yachts. If you like the podcast, consider giving it a subscribe or giving us a review. And as always, I will see you next time on the DMF.